I just watched a video by the Bible thumping wingnut. He was talking about Matthew Steele and myself and the quiet atheist, negation of P, Ozzy, and our response to Matthew Steele's question, what is worst moral act? Worst moral evil? And basically saying that we're all warring against God, we all hate God. I find it interesting, of course. If I'm guilty of anything there, it's not paying close enough attention to Matthew Steele's question, because I honestly did not hear him say, what's the most moral evil act that you could do? I didn't really internalize that part. Looked at the title, I listened to the video, and I was immediately thinking about what's the worst possible moral evil. And so I went with that. So, be that as it may. The funny thing is, he's saying that, what we all did was we all delved into a description of God, basically, and eternal punishment in hell. And he thinks that somehow that's surprising. And he called us, children of, what does he call us again? Children of wrath. That these atheists expose their hatred of God. Well, again, first off, my scenario actually I don't think was all that much like God. I thought God actually burned people. I didn't know he stimulated people's brains to make them feel as though they were being burned, which was my scenario. And I only added the part about them somehow sustaining their life so they couldn't actually just die to escape the pain towards the end, because I realized, well, that's a finite process. Let's add the infinite to it. And I can't imagine much worse physical pain than burning. I don't think there's that much coincidence that that's the punishment that's been dreamt up by the authors of Scripture. Let's see. What's the biggest carrot and stick possible? Carrot, eternal love and fluffy clouds and whatever, and kinship with the creator of everything. What's the biggest stick we can come up with? Well, it would have to be really a lot of pain and a lot of suffering. Burning, that hurts a lot, probably more than anything else possible. Doesn't seem bad enough. Maybe we should add eternity to it. Just saying. Anyway, the other thing that's funny to me is the smugness of the Bible-thumping wingnut when he's talking about this stuff. Oh, he's exposed that these atheists are so warring against God. And he calls us children of wrath. Now, I'm not sure how far down the Calvinist wormhole the Bible-thumping wingnut goes. I've got to imagine that he goes down it a fair decent way, because he is friends with Matthew 4:19. They don't seem to be engaged in any kind of a holy war, unlike Matthew 4:19 and William Tyndale. But if he does believe in that sort of reformed theology, then he also has a belief that God is omniscient and he has a plan, and there's nothing that happens that's outside of God's plan. He's created me with a nature, and if I'm a child of wrath, I was a child of wrath before I was born, right? He knew me before I was born. And the only way that I could become a child of redemption or salvation or whatever you call it then would be if God intervened, if he did something about it. There's nothing I can do to cause the ultimate end being my salvation. If I truly am a child of wrath, and if I truly am warring with God and I hate God, which I assure you isn't the case, if that were the case, wouldn't I be justified? I mean, that's kind of a ridiculous thing to say. You have been earmarked for eternal punishment in hell. I'm supposed to be happy about this? I mean, hello, Mr. Obvious. And what's the point of pointing it out? I'll tell you what, when you're in heaven, continue on with your smugness, if you can, while the majority, apparently, of humankind are experiencing this torture. That you could say it so easily now, and that you could imagine even an existence in heaven where you just put it out of your mind, tells me something about your level of sensitivity. It's funny because these same people will say, think about your life, think about your eternity, think about your future, as though atheists don't, right? As if we're just living hedonistically, bouncing from day to day, as if we don't no care for the morrow, you know. But it seems as though they don't think about it. About how that would feel. I mean, they believe this is going to happen when they're in heaven, and in theory, perhaps the majority of the people that they've ever known, good people and bad, I think in any other instance, Tim and I would probably get along just fine. I don't think he's a bad person, and I don't think he thinks I'm a bad person. But to know that those people that you've shared communion with and interacted with and shared love for even, and a respect for and an admiration for, are just burning forever. I think that's insensitive to imagine that you would stop thinking about those people and that you'd be okay with that and that you would continue with your smugness about how you've exposed their hatred. Yeah, I'll tell you something. If that is my end, and I was earmarked before I was born to be a child of wrath, yeah, I'd probably be filled with hate about that, and I think I'd be justified. I can only view things from my own perspective, right? And so I'm going to be the one suffering. So, yeah, there might be a bit of hatred. Of course, I don't believe any of this is going to happen. But if it did, I think I'd be justified. Oh, and one more thing. I thought about it a little further, and I thought maybe what we could do is like an experiment. We could just burn the Bible thumbing wingnut for a week or so and just see if he has any hate. See if he goes to war. Just a thought. Thanks for watching.